Hi guys, I'm Shmi. Hello and welcome back to the channel where today you join me to take a very first look and check out not one, but two brand new cars from Aston Martin. We're going to be focusing primarily on this, the third project from Aston Martin in collaboration with Red Bull. This is the AM-RB 003, a hybrid hypercar with some remarkable technology. I'm going to take you for a walk around. We'll go over some of the details and things that they've announced about the car so far, including a FlexFoil morphing rear wing. You'll see what I mean about that later on, as well as the interior of this, which is magnificent. We'll also take a look at the car behind me now too, the Vanquish Vision Concept, a series production mid-engine Aston Martin, a new era for them though, but both of these are very pretty and very exciting. So let's get started then and take a good look around. First things first, these two cars positioned here in the studio are looking spectacular. Now we're going to be taking a primary focus on this, the new hybrid hypercar, the AM-RB 003, and then later on I'll also take you for a quick look at the Vanquish Vision Concept. The rear of that car is remarkable. Now this, the concept name, AM-RB, representing the work between Aston Martin and Red Bull. Of course they collaborate in Formula One, and they also launched a few years ago the concept AM-RB 001 that we now know as the Valkyrie. This car uses a lot of learnings from the Valkyrie. The second project was the track-only Valkyrie AMR Pro. This, for the third, you can see incorporates some of the styling, a lot of the underbody aerodynamics, but it also brings with it a number of new technologies and a car that's a little bit more comfortable and practical to drive on the road. If you've seen videos with the Valkyrie before that's very nearly ready now and set to start production, you'll know that the doors, the gull-wing doors, you climb in, step on the seats. It's a very, very narrow cabin, whereas this introduces a few more creature comforts, a slightly more usable car, but very much a proper hypercar. If you think about the power plant, it's an in-house engineered and designed Aston Martin V6, a turbo hybrid. It will be something akin to the LaFerrari, the 918, the P1, but incorporating that along with aerodynamics at the next level, active suspension, a lot of underbody aero as well that you'll see as we start to go in a little bit closer. But from a design and styling point of view, you have those Valkyrie cues, for example, the headlights, the front nose, the keel, the shape of the lines that you have around here. And just to come in and show you a little bit more of this, if we come round to the side, for example, have a look straight through the front. You can see how it's got the teardrop cabin style with a lot of aero work going on through the inside. Have a quick glimpse at the inside. We'll check that out in more detail very shortly. But basically a slightly larger cabin to allow, more comfort, more space, but still very, very focused, believe me. And then around the back, you have this rear wing. Now, there's a lot to talk about with this. It has FlexFoil, which means it can morph and adjust. So the rear of the wing will be able to fold and bend upwards to give the car more downforce without having to have a very large wing back there, but still giving extreme downforce figures, of course, helped by this. Just look at this, that double-sided diffuser, ginormous amounts of kind of tunnel space for air to whiz underneath the car. You've got these touches like the tail lights that were introduced from the Vulcan and also on the Valkyrie, the exhaust tailpipes back here, short exit from the engine, the roof snorkel for air intake and cooling. You can spot kind of spaces everywhere where airflow will go through the car. The doors are LMP1 style. They open upwards towards the front and quite dramatic when you actually do that. And then around the front itself, you've even got a knacker duct there right on the bonnet. And coming down to the bottom, this nose sits incredibly low to the ground. And then beneath it, you have that splitter almost hanging down from the nose cone of the car. But all of this, not necessarily final, remember, it is still a concept, all part of the aerodynamic work that is going to keep this car absolutely glued to the ground, especially when driven in anger. I think the only problem might be where to stick a number plate on it, but that's one to work out in the future. The car is poised. You can see that from the front. Basically, there's no space other than what's required, but you also have this quite curved front windscreen, which ties onto the interior, which again, like I said, a very, very focused place that we're going to see very shortly. But this design, it's very pretty. I think you can't argue otherwise. For where it sits in the market, we're going to be talking £1 million or so, that kind of segment for this car. It's really, really, really cool. Let's come in a bit closer then and show you this interior and the apex ergonomics that are going on in here. Remember, it's a concept car, so I have to be incredibly delicate with this. We can lift open the door, LMP1 style, and you have that view revealed. Now, of course, the car is based around the use of carbon fiber, lightweight materials. So you have a carbon fiber tub, you also have all the carbon fiber bodywork. But just look in here, and the first thing that I have noticed is how the seat is right down at the base of the tub. Well, it is the tub, literally, which means your hip point would be below your heel in there at the pedals. Very much race car position, an adjustable backrest, but with a central console. The central console is 3D printed carbon fiber. And then you just start to look around at some of the displays and how all of this is set up. So the apex ergonomics mean that the seat is positioned exactly dead onto the pedals, dead onto the steering wheel, and you have that horizontal line running around the dashboard, which integrates the air vents, the speakers, the different lighting options in a very, very focused and purposeful interior. In fact, look at how narrow the door glass is. The view in there, yet out the front, that visible line is quite impressive. And then these screens, now these might not make it into the final production per se, but that rectangular squared off steering wheel, as well, I think back at the 177 Aston Martin first introduced having a squared shape to the steering wheel. But again, very, very race car. Your driving modes toggled and controlled through there with an infotainment display that, in this case, for example, could be your mobile device. But basically, nothing that isn't required. That's pretty much all you've got going on in here. A very easy tub to climb over as well. I noticed that ingress and egress, getting in and getting out of the car, is going to be quite easy, because naturally it lifts away part of the roof line as well, which means when you have a helmet on, you're not going to have issues there. And down here, 003, oh, and another plaque just here, hand built in England by Aston Martin. If we continue down, have a look at this angle. You can see straight through, past some of the suspension components. The car has active suspension, so the ride height will be adjustable, all the way through to that front splitter. And one of my favorite views to check out is this, straight through the side of the door. The blades used to direct airflow, but you'll also spot here the cameras used for the door mirrors. Those positioned neatly into the side of the car, giving it a very clean effect, but also one that's quite aerodynamic. That's the major benefit by having screens to use for the displays, which will be projected up onto the rear view mirror. You'll have the 3 different cameras, one for the rear as well, because of course with the scoop there is no visibility straight out of the back. But then we can just explore a few more of these different angles and the aerodynamics here. Look how open the rear wheel is in terms of the airflow around it, but also how snug it is inside the arch. And then you come round to the back itself and you've basically just got one support brace going from the fender towards the diffuser. But as it's shown right here, kind of completely open and very, very wide rear Michelin tires. Then in the back, maybe this will be a reversing light here, but look at that. Just look at that view. The flat kind of clean underfloor with the carbon fiber, the exposed carbon fiber. Of course, all of the bodywork being carbon fiber, and maybe that will be an option for customers to spec their cars when they start deliveries at the end of 2021. But just walking around this and taking it in, what a car, what an impressive thing to actually explore. And then positioned inside here is going to be Aston Martin's new engine, the turbo hybrid V6. Now, I don't know what the exact power output will be, maybe 800, 900 horsepower, that kind of ballpark, but I do imagine it is going to be remarkably fast. Look at that, look how you see straight through it. This car, this design, it's very, very neat, very tidy, and presumably very slippery as well in terms of airflow. But wow, just wow. There are clearly some very trick things at play with this car in terms of the materials used, the 3D printed carbon fiber, that FlexFoil rear wing, which is actually tested by NASA as well. Basically something developed for the aircraft industry, now being used for the first time ever on a road car. Dynamically, it's being set up by Matt Becker and Chris Goodwin. Of course, guys with a lot of experience who know a thing or two, but I just love how you have that sense of the Valkyrie in this car as well. For example, the internals of the headlights are actually matched, but the shape of the exterior, the lens is slightly different. And an interesting fact, the 4 lights on this car, the 2 headlights plus the tail lights, are lighter than one single headlamp on a DB11. That just shows you how light this thing might potentially be, whether that's 1,300 kilos, 1,400 kilos with all the hybrid tech. Who knows at this stage? Lots more to come in future as the car, presumably as the project develops and reaches near completion. Now, I'm just actually going to be allowed to take a seat inside the car, but because of how important this is, I'm going to have to take my shoes off and then have a little climb to get a sense of the position and what it's like in here. With shoes off then, very, very delicately does this. Basically take a seat, bottom first, then swing the legs in, being careful of everything around. Wow, that seating position. My legs are basically straight down towards the pedals. The view though, the view through the cockpit windscreen. You've got some controls up on the roof, that rear display, or rather I should say mirrors and rear display. Wow, look at this. Look at this view. This feels focused. I mean, it is completely race car-esque. And here am I just sitting inside it. Wow. Absolutely wow. There's a small space for some storage back there behind you. But basically, you're kind of straight race car, single-seater style, down towards the end. Now, the substantial difference between this and Valkyrie is having, more space, a central console between you. In Valkyrie, basically the driver and passenger would kind of have arms completely touching against one another. But here you've got some of the controls and toggles. This is a very, very clean appearance and finish to the interior. And I like how it says heart rate 72, because if I was driving this car, my heart rate would be a lot faster than that. But the sill is also pretty low in comparison to where we're sitting. And then you have this view out through the front, again, where you can see straight through it. The handle to pull down the door. And hey, that's not a bad view out to the side right now either. But this position, this seating position, the paddles on the back, of course, no information about gearbox and final works of the engine yet. But one thing the engine will have is Nexcel, the first time Nexcel being on a road car, which means you can do an oil change in 90 seconds, something that's been tested in endurance racing. But this, look at this, track mode, telephone button, that feels wrong, a lift system, suspension button, reverse, drive, your different traction control settings, cruise control, and the start-stop button down at the bottom. But that's a very, very cool steering wheel. This position, though, I can't get over this position. I feel like I'm lying down. I actually feel right now like, just put the head back and kind of have a rest inside the car, leaning all the way down towards the pedals, an adjustable pedal box, and also down on the passenger side you can see the footrest bar down there too. But some space actually, maybe that's your luggage space down at the very end of the footwell. Wow, absolutely wow. Just take a look though at the seat in a little bit more detail. The pads here that you have, the pads just basically to comfort what is otherwise a completely stripped out leather area on the tub. Right down on the base of the tub, but using the contrast materials as well around the back, I think, to bring in some more light and feel to the car. But it's actually quite tall as well inside, which I guess gives you plenty of space for a helmet. That's always a consideration in a track car, whether you've got enough room to wear the helmet when you're actually out on track. I'm dreaming right now of what this would actually be like to be driving in anger on a racetrack, sat inside the AM-RB 003. I can't take this in enough. I can't wait to see how this is all finalized as well when the project is completed and the production car can be shown. Just wow, just absolutely wow, taking it all in. Just exposed carbon fiber everywhere. You're sat inside this, cage all around you of the carbon fiber. Very thin A-pillars actually. As a result, giving you a lot of glass. And even though these side windows are very narrow, you can see plenty out the sides of them. And obviously you can rake the seat slightly further forwards as well, should you wish, and you've got those small leather pads beside you. It's cozy, that's for sure, it's definitely cozy, but cozy in a very, very, very cool way. So now, to try and work out how to climb back out of here very gently and carefully, I think it's literally a case of spinning out, feet on the ground, and out we get. Wow, that was cool to experience. What a thing. I'm going to close down the door on this car, very delicately does it. The last thing we would want to do is damage a concept, but just look as well at the paint color of this, the pearlescent. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. But let's talk for a moment about how the AM-RB 003 sits alongside the Vanquish Vision Concept. This will be Aston Martin's entry into series production mid-engined cars. So where the AM-RB 003 will be a highly limited edition, a limited number of these will be built, 500 coupes of them in total, this will be the car that follows as their entry into a slightly larger production of them. So to explore around this, you can see a lot of similar design cues, a lot of the similar kind of aero style and ethos behind the car, but also mixing in some more traditional Aston Martin design, including this rear. You have that metal stripe that runs the full width, as was seen in the first Vanquish, and then also in the DBS, the previous generation DBS, which brought with it this shape as well. And I absolutely love that rear view. That is stunning, with the exhaust tailpipes mounted here, but a slightly, I think, less pronounced level of aerodynamics in comparison with the Hypercar in, I guess, the supercar leveled car. But also you have this rail, the roof pillars running all the way from the front to the rear, like it was seen on the DB11, and again with cameras here for the door mirrors as well. And around the front you have that similar shape, different styles of grills on different levels of different Aston Martins of different characters. So you have the full grille, for example, on the DB11, the DBS, whereas on the sportier cars, the Vanquish, also on the Valkyrie and the AM-RB 003, and this, you have just the top level with a splitter contrasting against that down below. But again, similarly, lots of airflow, lots of aerodynamics at play and at work. This car being at a slightly earlier stage in comparison, but expect this kind of thing around 2022, the Vanquish name being used as Aston Martin's flagship name for models from their lineup, and the colour of that again is spectacular as well. A word I've used a lot today, but I think it describes how good these cars actually look. They are really very, very, very pretty approaches to aerodynamics. It's hard to make aerodynamics beautiful, but in this case you can really see it. In the case of the Valkyrie, you get the beauty from the purpose. In these, you can see two cars that are very, very good looking as we explore them. I just can't get over how low that front end is, but also how you have the arches just over the wheels, pronouncing and demonstrating the aggression of it all. And this, I could walk around this all day non-stop at the moment. Centre lock wheels, presumably lightweight as well. You can see the Michelin tyres with the tyre writing, all carbon fibre, all exposed carbon fibre. Those tailpipes, exhaust pipes, just a very, very cool placement. No doubt you get some additional sound by being in the car with them being slightly closer to you. And then that clean look at the rear. It's really quite impressive how it's not cluttered. Exterior and interior, complete lack of clutter around the car. Just pure focus with slightly more comfort than the Valkyrie offered. And who knows, maybe if the rules allow, one of these might be going racing in the future as well, and then it becomes a road-going variant of the race car too. Who knows what Aston Martin are developing in the background, but just, yeah, take it in from every possible angle. The AM-RB 003, ready to go out and drive. In the future, we will see the full production version of this and hear what that new engine is like as well when it's been fully engineered. For now though, that's been a first look at the AM-RB 003, also at the Vanquish Vision Concept 2. Two amazing looking cars that I can't wait to see more of in the future. But I hope you've enjoyed this first look to check out these two. Thank you very much as always for watching, guys. I appreciate it an awful lot, and I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.